This month's episode of the QA is brought to you by Rainier Arms. Hey guys, my name is Dave Tim. Thank you very much for checking out this video. This is the QA for March 2018 for Guns and Tactics. Make sure you're following us online at gunsandtactics.com and on all of our social media outlets, Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. We are excited to have you guys follow us along, and we give you updates on all sorts of things related to guns and firearms stuff and tactics and training in general. So before we get started with the QA, I do got to give a shout out to our sponsor, Rainier Arms, for sponsoring this episode once again. So thank you very much to Rainier Arms. We are going to have a prize for one lucky question asker towards the end of the episode. But before we get started with that, guys, as you have probably heard, there is a lot of buzz going around about the new YouTube firearms policy. And you can watch any number of videos, you can read any number of articles, but basically YouTube is changing their policy on how they are going to handle firearms content. And there's still some gray area. It hasn't taken effect yet. There's still some gray area on whether they're going to go back and retroactively apply it to old videos or if it's just new videos moving forward. But basically, there's no talk about manufacturing firearms. There's no talk about installing bump stocks or simulated full auto. There's no talk about sales. You can't do links to sales or links to web pages that sell for the sale of firearms, things like that, as well as just some general kind of terms referring to high capacity mags over 30 rounds and showing I believe the installation of those. So I don't know what that exactly is going to mean for not only our channel but also a lot of other channels. So what I would encourage you guys to do is please follow us on Facebook, and we do have the largest following on Facebook for our outlets, compared to all of our channels. We do have the most views on Facebook, so I would encourage you to like us on Facebook if you are not already. And again, it's just Guns and Tactics Magazine on Facebook. Of course, please add gunsandtactics.com to your daily check, web news sites or whatever. Please check out the webpage often. We do update our videos. We have articles. We have stuff that you're also maybe not necessarily going to see on the social media. We do put up on the webpage. So please check out gunsandtactics.com. We do have our YouTube channel for now. I might be looking at re-uploading some stuff back on Full 30, although Full 30 has been kind of a challenge behind the scenes, just as far as kind of updating some of the infrastructure. They still don't have an app, that kind of stuff that a lot of the viewers have given me feedback about regarding to Full 30. I think it's a great concept, it's a great idea, it's a great cause, but going against some of the giants of social media, it's a challenge. It takes a lot to get it done right. So we might look at that though, just as another outlet, because obviously we want to get our content out there, we want to get it to you, and hopefully YouTube allows us to make content, but we'll see what they say. And a lot of people are already talking about First Amendment rights. Well, the reality is YouTube is a private business. It's their playground. They can have their rules and they can have certain things set up the way that they want. And while I would love for it to be wide and open, the reality is it is a private business and they do have rights to restrict certain content. For example, they don't allow pornography or whatever. And no, we're not going to be uploading to Pornhub like some of the other channels are or are talking about. But yeah, that's kind of where we're at on that. So I'd appreciate you guys following us along. That was probably way too much into that. Let's get rocking and rolling. So here's our first one from Crime Fighting Biscuits. YouTube comment: I'm a deputy in a small department in Texas and we have to buy our own ammunition. My question is, what duty ammo, 5.56, do you recommend for an SBR, 10.3 or 11.5 inch? Thanks for all the great content. Well, you're welcome. Thank you very much for watching. We really do appreciate it. And as far as duty rounds for SBRs, the department that I work for, we just selected a new duty round not that long ago, and I had a lot of great help from Johan Boden. He's a ballistics expert with federal ATK, and I'm fortunate enough that I have him as a resource that I could ask questions to. But he came up, we shot a bunch of rounds through vehicles, into ballistic gel, through body armor, through barriers, whatever, and ultimately what I found the best performing round that I think is out right now for a general patrol round is the Spear Gold Dot 75 grain. And it works great out of short barrel rifles, so I'm running it in my personal 10.5, 11.5 inch guns, and we're also issuing everything out to about that 16-inch carbine. Now, if you go any faster, or longer than that with higher velocity, I've heard there can be some separation issues of the jacket. I have not seen that, but I've heard a couple people online say that if they shoot it out of an 18 or 20-inch gun, that's a potential concern of theirs, although I have nothing to back that up. So I'm running the 75 grain Gold Dot. I think it's a great round, and what's nice about it is that it was designed for SBRs. So a lot of rounds on the market for ARs, they rely on a certain velocity threshold. And with a shorter barrel rifle, they lose that velocity threshold, so therefore the round is not as effective. Whereas the 75 grain gold dot, it can handle the slower velocities that an SBR sends that round to be a pretty effective round. Now, it's a newer round. It doesn't have a lot of data as far as real world use, like the 62 grain bonded. That has been involved in a lot of real world incidents with a lot of real data. But I think it's going to be a proven performer as time goes on. And I feel confident enough in it that that's what I'm carrying for my home defense loads, as well as patrol, and what I recommend to any other law enforcement professional for me. So that is my recommendation for that. All right, then we got some other ones via email and Facebook. Poncho Mason, where can I get a fully semi-automatic ghost gun with a 100 round per second magazine clip? I have no idea, and because of YouTube's new policies, I'm not even going to go there. All right, this is from Trevor via Facebook. A good friend of mine asked me the other day why one lower and upper is so much cheaper than another lower and upper. Also wanted to know why they could build an AR for $500 and what the difference would be between that one and one that they could build for $1,500. Is it a situation where you're buying diminishing returns, or is it truly worth the money? Well, it kind of depends. That's a great question. It looks like this was recommended for Dave McCannell. So Trevor and Dave, hopefully this is helpful for you, but the reality is what costs money a lot of times in the AR world is not only materials, but also machine time and quality control and quality assurance. So if you get the same raw forging, so an 80% or a 0% forging, of a lower receiver from a forge house, and a lot of the manufacturers get those forgings from the same place. Now, why does one company sell a lower receiver for $50 or $60, and why does another company sell a forged lower receiver for $120, $130, $180? Well, machining time, machining tolerances, quality assurance, quality control. It's very easy to put that forging in a pallet, which is what the fixture is called that runs it through the machine, and just have a machine buzz, 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 drill, tap, buzz, 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 off it goes to anodizing. And that's all automated. There's no human controls or human checks in there whatsoever. So if that tool was dull or out of position or undersized or whatever, or it's cutting something or whatever, there's not going to be any checks and balances to check that. The tolerances might be a little loose to account for that. So it might just be a sloppily machined part done as quickly and crudely as possible just to get it within tolerance A and B, okay, and that A and B might be pretty wide, and then it's off to tumbling, off to anodizing, and off to sale. And that's just it. It's just an automated process, and their quality control is the consumer. The consumer gets it, puts it together, and if something doesn't work, then it goes back and someone might check it. That's reality for some companies. A higher end company is going to place that in. They're going to use different machining processes that take more time. They're going to wire EDM cut the magwell versus just mill it out. They're going to drill and then ream the holes versus just to drill them out. They're going to cut the threads versus having them tapped. Those processes take time on the machine, and time on a machine is money. But the result is that the tolerance, instead of A and B, is A and B. So it's a much tighter tolerance, much more controlled, and along the way, after the magwell is cut, it's inspected. The quality control is done, and it's checked to make sure everything is within spec. When the holes are drilled and then reamed to location, they are checked to make sure that they are the proper size, their proper location. The threads, everything is checked along the way. All of that adds time. Time they have to pay someone to run a machine, time that the machine is being occupied, and time for someone to check that. All that adds up money, all that costs more things, and then anodizing, they're more strict on what color anodizing they are going to accept back from the anodizer. So those are some of the reasons why machining parts cost different things, and all of that translates to all sorts of other parts too. You can get parts from China, you can get parts from United States machine shops, and you can get junk from both or good things from both, but generally speaking, you pay for what you get. If you look at some of the big manufacturers of bolt carrier groups, there are some that cost this much and some that cost this much, and the ones that cost this much are in your higher end guns, and they don't fail and they don't break. They don't have broken cam pins, they don't have broken bolts, they don't have broken extractors, where some of these other ones do. So that's kind of that. Now, the reality is, most AR shooters out there, and no offense to you guys that are watching this, but most AR owners are never going to shoot more than 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 rounds through their AR in their life. So you can get a budget AR that'll probably run 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 rounds, and that's going to probably last most of the AR owners out there a lifetime. Whereas me, I'll burn 2,000 or 3,000 rounds in a class. That's just literally 1 3-4 day class. And I try to go to several of those. Or if a 3-gun match or a 3-gun shooter or whatever, I've had ARs that I'm on the 3rd, 4th barrel because I've burned up barrels. And you know, it takes several thousand rounds to burn out a barrel where I'm not getting the accuracy I need. So I have ARs, I have one AR, that's probably one of my oldest ones. I'm not kidding you, I probably have 70+ thousand rounds through those receivers. Now I've replaced the barrel, I've replaced the bolt. The carrier and the receivers are the same. Some of the furniture has been updated over the years, but you know, there's no reason why you can't get a lot of rounds, but on a good AR. So that is that. I hope that answers that question. Brian Barrett writes, what is the holdup with the Ruger PC carbine? Sold out everywhere. Yeah, it looks like it's going to be a really popular gun. It's kind of like a bigger 1022 takedown, except for it shoots 9mm, takes Glock mags or Ruger mags. I have one on back order. I can't wait to get one. I think it's going to be a cool gun. Ryan David, any experience using a fiber optic front sight with a red dot sight? Curious if it's distracting. I personally don't have it. However, I do have a high vis sight on one of my red dot sight handguns. I don't find it distracting at all. I have shot a couple other guns that have fiber optic sights or even just plain black or tritium or whatever. And the reality is when I'm shooting a red dot, I'm presenting the gun, I'm looking through the red dot, I'm focusing on the target, so I'm seeing the dot on the target. 10, 15, 20, 25 yards or whatever it is, I don't even see the sights really because I'm focused on one singular object, which is the target, which is the dot is also on that. So that's the advantage of a red dot sight. Now, if I was focusing on that front sight and trying to put all this together, then there could be some focal confusion. That's a term I've used, which I think is a good term to describe it. Then yeah, it might be distracting, but otherwise when I draw and present, I'm just basically still looking at my target, draw and present, bring the gun up to my eye level, I'm looking through the dot, and then I still see the target, I see the dot, I don't even see my sights. It's not that big of a deal. The only time I'm looking for my sights really now is if the dot were to go down or I can't find the dot, then I'll transition to find that front sight, focus on the front sight, find the acceptable sight picture for my distance and go from there. So good question there. Mitch Adams, are you hiring? I have no idea. I'm not the boss of that, but I'm always looking for someone to pick up brass at the range, if that's an option. Throwing that out there. This is a question from Aaron. What is my favorite holster for carry? I'm assuming off-duty carry or whatever. I generally like inside the waistband. I really like the Milt Sparks inside the waistband stuff. They're just good quality holsters. They're not cheap, they're expensive, but they'll last a lifetime. In fact, that's what I'm carrying right now with my Glock. The VersaMax is a great one. The other one that they came out with, which is a slimmer, I think it's called the Nexus, is a great holster as well. I've recommended those to a lot of people. They're just really comfortable. So if you're a hip or slightly behind your hip carry, very, very comfortable. Appendix carry, I might look at it someday. Obviously, if some people have noted, I've lost some weight, so now I'm getting skinny enough where I can finally start to appendix carry. And I might try like a Gotham rig or something like that just to try to play around with it. Because I do think there's some benefits. It's quicker, you can present, but comfort, I haven't really done it. So I might try appendix carry too. So before we answer our last few questions, let me give a shout out to Rainier Arms and the Apex Club. If you like buying all sorts of cool new gun gadgets, gear, whatever, make sure you check out the Apex Club from Rainier Arms by going to their webpage, which I can't put a link per YouTube's description, but if you Google Rainier Arms Apex Club, you will definitely find it. It may appear on the screen. I don't know what the rules are officially stating, but Rainier Arms Apex Club, for one low price per year of $79, you get free ground shipping and you get a discount on all of their stuff. Plus you get exclusive discounts on new and cool stuff before the general public. So awesome opportunity to get the cool new gear at a discounted price with free ground shipping all year long from the Apex Club at Rainier Arms. And what they're giving away this month for one lucky question asker is a set of these ETS mag loaders. Now this one is for an AR, so you put your AR mag, you have your rounds right in here, you put your mag in, your rounds in, and you go zzz, and it loads them all in. And they also make a pistol version that takes several handgun mags. So you put your magazine in here, put your rounds in there, and you load it in like so. So we got some of these coming for one lucky question asker, thanks to our sponsor, Rainier Arms. All right, we've got a couple more questions. One is from Ryan, another Ryan. What is your favorite AR-15 part? I have no idea. There's so many: a red dot sight, a variable optic, a good quality grip, a stock. I really don't know, man. Sorry. All right, Brian, all sorts of things coming in. What is your dream training class or goal? That's a really good question, actually. I'm a firm believer that in order for anyone to be a good student, a good shooter, a good teacher, whatever, they need to be a lifetime student, always learning. And one of the things that I want to really do now is I want to go to the Rogers Shooting School. It's an intense school. They shoot like 500 rounds a day, a handgun. You're a very proficient shooter at the end of it. But some of the people that I really, really respect as handgun shooters have good things to say about the Rogers Shooting School. So that is on my bucket list. I've also been very fortunate to train with a lot of really great people. Probably my two of my favorites have been Dave Spalding. I love that guy. He's just a great trainer, a good guy. And Louis Auerbach, again, another great trainer. Different styles, but yet they do have a lot in common. So I've been very fortunate enough to work with those guys. Looks like we have just a couple more questions here. This one is from Kurt. Kurt wants to know, if you could only do one training class in your life, what would it be? That is a tough one. If I could only do one, I don't know if I could pick between a couple of great experiences I've had with Louis, like I mentioned before, and Dave Spalding. I guess here's what I would look at. If I could only do one class, I guess I don't even like the question, because I don't want to think of limiting yourself to one class of a lifetime, but maybe let's just narrow it down to one class a year. You only have limited budget, time, whatever. I would do some homework and make sure you're finding a trainer that truly will give you an addition of the skill set that you really want to learn. So for example, if you're a permit to carry holder, you're going to want to take a pistol class, and it's going to want to improve your accuracy, your abilities, whatever. Not going to want to maybe take like a, sniper class or whatever that, well, be fun and entertaining and you'd probably learn. It might not be as beneficial. So maybe look at it that way. However, if you are looking for an entertainment, for some people, this is, their golf. One shooter that we have often, he basically shows up to the class and he just says, this is my golf. This is what I like to do. I don't like to go play golf. I want to come to the range. I want to learn about different things, even though it doesn't apply to my day job. And he's a great shooter and a great guy, and he has a great mindset about it. So maybe then you decide, I want to take a long range shooting course because it's something I really, really want to do. It's something fun. So try to make the best use of your time. Obviously, we can always make more money, but you can never make more time is a motto of mine. So I would really, really try to recommend you do some good vetting, because sadly, I've been to a lot of classes that I've walked away from that I've just been truly, truly disappointed at, not only the instructor, but the content or the curriculum, that it wasn't represented as what I thought it would be, or it was presented differently, or the instructor just didn't have a lot of effort into it. And that was really disappointing. So don't be afraid to get reviews, ask for references, talk to other people. Don't be afraid to put your money into it. All right, our last question is from Lyle. Lyle wants to know, what is my recommendation generally for a buffer spring combo with a 16-inch mid gun? I think I answered that in other comments. It's probably going to be an H buffer with a good quality spring, although the Geisley 42 system is looking really good now. If it was a competition gun where I was going to be using a low mass carrier, I might look at the JP silent captured system. So that's a generally go-to there. But if it's going to be just like a patrol type rifle, a 16-inch mid, good solid gas port, I'm probably going to be looking at either the Geisley 42 system or a good quality carbine spring, and I'd start with like an H buffer, H1 buffer, and go from there. So that is our questions for this month. If you have a question, make sure you're emailing us, theqa@gunsandtactics.com. Otherwise, you can leave a comment on any one of our social media platforms. But again, that's theqa@gunsandtactics.com. You can email us, and we'd love to hear from your questions. We'd love to have your comments and feedback as well. So if there's something that you like, please let us know. If there's something you don't like, we need to change, please let us know. We'd be happy to get that feedback from the show and have your question. So I don't know how many questions we had. I kind of have an ongoing list here because there's a couple here that I didn't get to, so the random number generator might be wrong here, but let's try to pick our winner. And I think I actually added too many, but I believe our winner is going to be the last question because I have too many, so I'm just going to give it to the last, and that is going to be Lyle. So Lyle, thank you for asking a buffer question, even though I've answered those before, but Lyle, you were an email, so I do have your email address here, so I will be emailing you on how to get your contact info to get you a set of these loaders from ETS. Again, thanks to Rainier Arms. Make sure you guys are following us on gunsandtactics.com. And for the YouTube police out there, we do not sell any firearms or parts on gunsandtactics.com. It's perfectly legit, and we don't manufacture guns or ammunition or silencers or have super high capacity ghost mags. But thank you guys very much for watching. I do appreciate it. We'll see you next time. Also, we have the briefing room and our quick tips and our first looks and all sorts of other cool articles on our webpage and social media outlets. Thank you very much for watching. Have a great day.